Hi, this is Mike from Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and this is your Bernina. And this is the final test before we pack her up to ship her out to you. It's if you're coming here from somewhere else on the internet, this is a Bernina 730 record. Just fresh off of the restoration bench at Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine. And we're going to run it through its paces and show you how to work the various controls. We're going to start by winding a bobbin and threading the machine. So you'll find your bobbin in the bobbin case down here. Make sure your needle is up and pull the little latch out, and your bobbin case slides right out. As long as you're holding the little latch, your bobbin case is not going to come out, which is convenient. But once you let it go, it'll drop out into your hand, and your bobbin winder on this Bernina is here under this cover. I'm going to turn it a little so you can see what's going on here. So to wind the bobbin, put a bobbin on the spool pin in the back here. Swing out this little arm that has the tension device. Go around the tension device. You'll see there's a little arrow on it that shows you which way to go. In fact, the whole thread path here is marked out for winding your bobbin. Just follow the arrows until you get to the bobbin. And the bobbin, of course, is going to go onto the bobbin winder. Oops, I see that we've got some thread on here already. Let's take the old thread off. Okay, again, bobbin on the spool pin, around the tension device on the swing out arm, around the little standoff, and to your bobbin winder. And the bobbin is going to wind around this direction. So put your thread through one of the little holes in the side of the bobbin and hold on to that little tail and give it several wraps just to hold the thread in place while you wind the bobbin. And pay attention to which way the thread is going to come onto your bobbin. Again, follow the arrows on the marked on the top of the machine here. Then swing this little, I don't know what you call it. It's the lever that as your bobbin fills, it's going to push this lever out until it pops out, and when your bobbin is full, it'll stop winding. Declutch the machine by turning the knob in the hand wheel a quarter turn towards you. You'll feel it hit the stop there. And the hand wheel can spin without the rest of the machine cycling. Here we go. No reason to go fast. The faster you go, the more chance you have of tangling your thread. We're not going to fill the whole bobbin since this is just a test. So we'll stop it about there. That should be plenty of thread for our test. Click this lever out. Take the thread off the spool pin. Swing the arm back in. Reclutch your machine by tightening the knob in the center of the hand wheel. Not real tight, just snug. And your bobbin is ready to go in the bobbin case. The thread is going to come off of the top of the bobbin in this direction when it goes in the bobbin case, and that is important. The thread's going to go into this little slot in the side and then under the leaf spring in the side, which is what applies the tension, and you'll be able to feel a little bit of drag there. So pull the thread up under that leaf spring until you feel it click into place, and then just feel it to make sure that you got a little bit of drag there. Holding the latch out, and with this little finger on top of the bobbin case pointing up, slip it onto the spindle of the hook there, all the way in until you feel it click into place there. And just leave the end of the thread dangling out. To thread the machine, put your thread on the spool pin, go under the thread guide on the back, across this slot on the top of the machine, and down under this big thread guide, and up over the top of the take-up lever. There's a slot in the take-up lever, so your thread just drops right into place. And come down and pick up the thread guide here on the needle bar. Get a nice clean end on your thread, because that makes it way easier to make it go through the needle. And then from this thread guide on the needle bar, go through the eye of the needle from front towards the back. Make sure while you're pulling it tight that it's not wrapping around anything, that it's not wrapping around the needle. Hold your needle thread loosely and turn the hand wheel towards you one full turn. And the needle will take the thread down where the hook will pick it up and wrap it around the bobbin and bring the lower thread up with it. So one full revolution. Make sure you go all the way around. And see, there's your bottom thread. Put your thread between the toes of the presser foot and towards the back of the machine, and now we're ready to sew. I have a piece of canvas here that I've been testing machines on. We'll use that. Get rid of some of these long dangly threads that are hanging off of it. We're going to start with a straight stitch. So on top of your machine is your stitch pattern selector. 0 is straight stitch and zigzag, and 1 through 20 are your special stitches. This lever over here, you set it at the bottom for straight stitch and zigzag, and you set it back that way for all of the other stitches. So we're going to start with a straight stitch. So the lever goes that way. This lever, pull it towards the hand wheel a little bit. It's spring loaded. You'll feel that. Go all the way down to 0. Now when it's on 0, this is your stitch width. 0 is straight stitch, and zigzag is anything above straight stitch from 0.0001 to 4. So we're going to go to 0 because we don't want the zigzag, we want a straight stitch. This knob in the center is your needle position. You can choose whether you want your needle to be towards the left, in the center, or towards the right. We're going to set it in the center. And this is your feed drop. The feed drop controls the teeth of the feed dog, which move the fabric. They come up through the needle plate and pull the fabric towards the back of the machine. When you turn this knob towards the darning position, feed dogs stay below the needle plate and they never come up and contact the fabric. So you're moving the fabric by hand. If you turn it towards the teeth, then your feed dog is activated and it moves the fabric. So put your fabric under presser foot. Use the lever on the back to drop the presser foot onto the fabric. Hold your threads for the first couple of stitches, just so the thread doesn't get sucked down or anything. And this is your stitch length. We're going to go to about 2. That's a kind of a medium length stitch. And holding the threads, here we go. This is such a nice machine. It feels like you're driving a Mercedes. Now you can do a longer stitch by pressing the lever down. The further down you go, the longer and longer your stitches get. And going up from the center where it's marked 0, your stitches get longer and longer and longer in reverse. So down is forward, up is reverse. Center is no stitch movement. So whether you go up or down, your stitches get longer and longer as you go towards the bottom or towards the top. Up and reverse, down and forward. Okay, so we're going to go back to about 2. And now we're going to do a zigzag. So lifting the needle up out of the fabric so when the needle bar moves over, it doesn't bend the needle. We're going to turn this all the way up to 4. That's the widest zigzag. And here we go. Now you can see the needle bar moving back and forth as it zigzags. And now we're going to do a fancy stitch. So raising the needle up out of the fabric. We're going to move this lever towards the rear for numbers 1 through 20. And let's do, let's see. I'm sure that all these stitches have names, but this one's kind of an oval, sort of, kind of. It's stitch number 5, if that means anything to you. So here we go. You'll see it starts at 0 and then gets wider and wider and wider and wider. And then down to straight stitch again, and then wider and wider and wider and wider, and then down to straight stitch. And makes a nice neat pattern. I'm going to go to a shorter stitch length to make this stitch pattern more obvious. If you get a really short stitch length, you're going to want to use this satin stitch foot, which has a channel on the bottom of the foot, so that as the thread kind of humps up, which it does when you're doing a real short stitch, it doesn't hang up under the presser foot. So let's go. There it is. That's still kind of a long stitch length, but you get the idea. What else? This is your tension up here. If you're sewing something really lightweight, you may want to let the tension off a little bit. If you're sewing something heavy like canvas or duck or several layers of denim, you may need a little bit more tension. This little window here has a mark at the median. So this is your regular stitch length for regular fabric, and this side is marked with a minus, this side is marked with a plus to show whether you're increasing or decreasing your tension. But again, just set that the mark in the center, and you're golden for regular fabric. This little window here shows you where you are in your stitch pattern. In case you run out of thread, need to fill a bobbin or something, you can start your stitch again at exactly the same place. This, I don't remember what that thing does. I think it's an incremental adjustment for your stitch length, but you can look that up in the manual. This lever here adjusts your stitch pattern, makes it wider or narrower. This is your buttonhole lever here. Again, look in your user manual and you'll see how to use those. The light switch is on the face, and plug in here. I guess that's about it. If you're sewing all day, every day, oil your machine every day. If you're sewing, a couple of days a week, oil it once a week, full days if you're sewing full days. If you sew occasionally, make sure you oil it at least every 3 months. If you bring it out of the closet to sew something and you haven't sewn anything in 6 months, oil your machine before you start, because the oil does evaporate, and your user manual will show you all of the oiling points. Oh, here's something that's interesting. Let's go back to straight stitch. So put this lever down, go back down to 0, and find a spot on this fabric that's not already taken up. Going down here a ways. Something you can do if you're creative and you want to make your own patterns. This is a freestyle stitch width. So while you're sewing, you can vary the width of your stitch to make your own patterns. You can draw pictures. Anyway, just a fun thing that you can do. This is your knee bar lifter. If you're really into using a knee bar, some people really like that for to raise the presser foot. That's what this does, and you'll have to find a lever for it on the internet somewhere. It just pushes in and turns, locks itself into place, and then you can use your knee to raise and lower the presser foot. So yeah, that's it. Bernina 730 record, wonderful machine. They really don't get much better than this. And if you have come here from somewhere else on the internet, we are Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine. We're out on Stagecoach Road in the Coast Range of Oregon. So we are stagecoachroadsewing.com. That's our website, stagecoachroadsewing.com. And if you come there, you can look at the hundreds literally hundreds and hundreds of pictures of machines that we've restored over the past 20 some years. You'll see views from all different angles and a little blurb about each one. And at the top of the page there are usually half a dozen or so, or actually there are usually like a dozen to about 30 machines that have been restored and are ready to sew. So you can take one of those home with you. StagecoachRoadSewing.com. We'll see you there.